Did you just get a new striation for your rollform machine? In this video, I'm gonna show you how to set that up. Hello everyone, Tim LaGuardia from New Tech Machinery. Today I'll be showing you how to set up your new striation assembly in your rollform machine. Just so you're aware, the setup that we'll be showing you today for a striation assembly applies to SSQ II, SSH, and SSR panel machines. Always remember, when you're working on your rollform machine, always make sure that you're locked out and tagged out so no power can be turned on. Always work around the shear, never through the shear. You work in front of it and behind it, never through it. Tools needed for this process include 7/16 wrench for height adjustment, 1/2 inch wrench for side-to-side adjustment, and a 5/32 Allen wrench to be able to adjust your pressure. When installing your striation for the first time, grab some help, drop it down in there, and start the top bolt while they're starting their side. Once that's started, then you could go ahead and get the bottom ones in there, like so. So once the height is set, basically what you're doing is you're setting the height of the striation roller to the same height as the drive roller and to the top of the shear. Once that's done, then just tighten everything up. First, you'll have to determine how many striations you will need to fit inside of your profile. After determining that, you can see in this one right here, I determined that I will be using 4 on the top and 3 on the bottom. These outside 2 do not fit within my profile, so I am going to move them out of the way. You will have to remove this stiffener bar to be able to move a set of striations out of the way. Once it is removed, just set it aside. Once you remove the stiffener bar, then you could go ahead and take the first top one and slide it out of the way, and do it with the bottom one too. You can even move the spacers over if need be. And then you can snug them up so they don't move on you. Once they're snugged up, now you can put the stiffener bar back on. When you reinstall the stiffener bar, you want to make sure that it stays lined up with the very last station. That will ensure that it does what it's supposed to do and that it will not be in the way of your material when it's coming through. Once you got that tightened back up and you've determined how many striations you will be needing for the center of your pan, now all you got to do is, the best way to do it is just eyeball it. So you're just kind of taking these 4 top ones and centering them inside your pan as best as you can, and then we're going to just tighten those up. So once you kind of get your top somewhat centered, just make sure that they're all snugged down. And you're using these spacers so you know that these striations are evenly spaced apart. If you look inside your manual, it will give you ideas of how to spread those out so you can cover more areas with less striations if you'd like to. Then simply just go ahead and center in the bottom ones as well. And what you're just trying to do is get them close to the center between the 2 top ones. So this one would be centered in between these 2, this one, these 2, and so on. And then once you get the first one, I'm using these spacers that are also on the bottom and just moving everything up against them so I know that everything is equally spaced apart. And then just go ahead and snug it, just tighten everything back up. Once you've got that preset that way, now you're ready to run your material through the striation and start setting the pressure and your print of your striation. Once you got your material through, now we got to start snugging up these striation rollers. What they are is they're on the end of an eccentric shaft. So you can see on the end of each shaft is going to be a hole through the center of the shaft, which will fit the 5/32 Allen wrench. By rotating that Allen wrench towards the shear, you'll feel it getting tighter. This is just going to be a basic feel to start off with. I'm giving it about 1/4 of a turn and then tighten this bolt up. So if you loosen this bolt first, this one right here, and then stick your Allen wrench inside the hole and rotate it towards the shear. Like I said, I'm starting off with about 1/4 of a turn or so, and then just tighten this back up, and that's what holds it in place. Once you get all of these to set pressure, and tighten back up, bump your material forward, and then you'll be able to see the print starting to come through. Once you have your pressure somewhat set evenly, then you'll be able to adjust this more later on if you need to. What I'm doing right now is I'm checking to make sure that these are actually centered into your pan here. And what I do is you're gonna always see where the last striation roller ends and your clip relief begins. There's this flat piece here. So you have it here and you have it over here. And what I do is I measure this on each side. So if you measure this side here, you'll see it's approximately 2 3/8. If you measure this side over here, it's approximately 1 1/2. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna take that 1 1/2 and subtract it from the 2 3/8, which is 7/8. And then you gotta divide the 7/8 by 2, which is 7/16, and that's what will give you how much you need to move all your striations to this side, 7/16 of an inch, to evenly center them. Once you've determined which direction you need to move your striations to recenter them and how much by, the best way for me is by if you measure from the outside of the first striation of the direction that you want to come, and you mark approximately 7/16. And trust me, if you're off by a 32nd, you're not gonna see it. And then you're gonna do the same on the bottom, approximately 7/16, just like that. All you need to do is move your top one over to our mark, and then move the bottom one over to your mark. Once you've done that, by using your spacers, you can now loosen every single one of these rollers and just move everything over evenly up against the spacers. And I just kind of put a little pressure on them and tighten them back up. You only have 2 on the bottom here, so you just move them over evenly, kind of hold that bottom one in place a little bit, and retighten it up. And now what I did was I just moved this whole striation assembly, all striation rollers, over a 7/16 of an inch. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to restart this and bump this back forward to where you don't see the old prints. That should be about good right there. Now you can see that there's all kinds of fresh print in there. And now you can see that if we measured this distance here and this distance here, they're gonna be very close to being the same. Now this is also a good spot to where if you want to lighten up on your print a little bit. So to me, these look a little deep. So I'm gonna loosen them up and just relax on them a little bit and do even pressure on each one. So I'm gonna loosen this one up and bring it up just a little bit. So you can see where the striations were located compared to now where they are located. So you can see we moved it over to recenter it. So once you get your print adjusted a little bit more, just go ahead and feed it up a little bit more. And then you can check to not only to make sure that your print is where you want it, but if your centering is there, and then also to make sure that your bottom striations are centered with your top. You can see that, this downslope right here is narrower than this one here. So that tells me that these bottom ones need to come over this way. Once you've determined if you need to move your bottom ones over to center them, you can now loosen up the bottom rollers. And like I said, even when you're centering them, start with the first outside one and move over your distance. Once you get this first one tightened up, it's just gonna be like before. You're gonna go ahead and loosen the other ones, move them over evenly with the spacers, slight pressure, and then snug them back up. Now you can start your machine back up and bring your material forward. Bring it forward enough until you get past your old marks. And now you can see in here that we are fairly even all the way across. Do you want to learn more about setting up your striations? Or perhaps you have a bead assembly or a V-rib? Check out this link. Thanks for watching the video. We'll see you in the next one.